Thank you.
Well, the Board of Selectmen's meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. If you all please join me in the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item number 3 is public comment. Would there be any public comment this evening? Yes, sir.
John Perry, 11 Bull Street. People that you contracted to do our culverts, are they completed? Are they done in the town? The reason why I'm asking is twice one of the guys came down the street. They cleaned one, they couldn't get to the other one because the tenant wouldn't move his car. So I just wanted to let you know that
We'll check into it tomorrow, John.
still got a culvert on our sheet.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me know that. Thank you. Further public comment this evening? Thank you all. Item number 4 is approval of minutes. In your packet, you have the minutes from June the 10th, 2013, Board of Selectmen minutes. What would be your pleasure?
So moved.
I have a motion to approve, a second, discussion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, so carried. Item B is another set of the special Board of Selectmen meeting minutes. What would be your pleasure?
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second, discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried. Item number 3 is a special Board of Selectmen meeting on June 27th. What would be your pleasure?
Motion to approve is presented.
Do I have a second? Second. I have a second. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Spain?
Very good. So carried. Item number 5 is petitions and communications. We have a letter dated June the 19th, 2013 from Willard Raider regarding the follow-up in the June the 14th 13 probe malfunction. We also have a letter dated June the 26th, 2013 from Willard Raider regarding the discharge monitoring reports for May of 2013. The report in its entirety is available in my office for review during normal business hours. Item C is a letter dated June the 26th, 2013 from Willard Raider regarding the ash residue uses. Item D is a CD dated June 26, 2013 from Brown and Caldwell on behalf of Willard Raider regarding monitoring reports for the second quarter. And again, the report is available in its entirety in the mayor's office for review during normal business hours. Item number 6 is reports of standing committees, General Government Committee. Alma?
Nothing yet, but we do need to schedule a meeting, so I'll be getting together with Doug to figure out what's good for him, and then I'll send an email out, so we'll have a meeting and hopefully get some stuff done for the next meeting.
Very good. Thank you, Alma. Item number 7 is report of special committees. Willard Raider Contract Review Committee. Doug, anything we would report? Item B is the Charter Revision Study Committee.
That's along with the General Government Committee's meeting that we'll have to schedule
Very good.
in the near future.
Item C is the Department Facility Study Group.
Nothing new.
Nothing new.
We'll probably, you might have a meeting in the future after that.
Very good. Item number 8 is Economic and Community Development Report. Delta?
She's on vacation.
She's on vacation. Very good. Item 9
Can I
is...
ask one question? Because on the municipal brownfield pilot program, there was $53,000 of engineering fees with regards to the different environmental impacts on that property. How much more is there? How much was set aside? Do you know offhand?
I don't know.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Item 9 is the building officials CEO report. Lee, I know Lee is here.
Yeah.
And I know you have a report in the packet. Any questions of Lee this evening? Anything special that you need to know, Lee?
Answer questions.
Uh,
I know the answers.
The only question I have, how much did you pull in for permits last year? Do you know offhand?
I don't know.
Could you get that report to the selectmen next month, please?
Yep.
The total amount that you're off?
Fiscal year, Barney?
Huh?
Fiscal year?
No, last year, the 2012, 2013 budget year, please?
Yeah.
Okay.
Further questions of Lee? Thank you, Lee. Item number 10 is Town Administrator's Report.
You have a copy of my report. First item is dealing with the various issues with the WPCA. We had a meeting with the State Department of Public Health. They wanted to go over our proposed scope of services on the water main relining and replacement project. Initially, we went in with approximately a $7.5 million project to get to 6 main focus areas in town which were determined to be priority. After discussions with the Department of Public Health and with working with our new consulting engineer on this project, Beta Group, the scope project was determined that we could be able to expand the water main relining replacement project to include evaluation and repairs to the Richmond Hill water tank. What we're also going to move ahead on is based on a proposal put forward by Beta, which is to fund the development of a GIS-based system incorporating all the pieces of our water system infrastructure. So anything that has to do with water system infrastructure, whether it's fire hydrants or valves or whatever the case may be, will be put into a GIS-based system. And the Department of Public Health thought this was such a good idea that they hope to use this as a model for other small water systems within the state. So we basically were able to get an expansion of the water main relining and replacement project, and with the inclusion of the Richmond Hill water tank added on, and then again the development of a GIS-based system for our water system infrastructure. I attended both the June and July monthly meetings of the WPCA and the public hearing that the WPCA held on the $4 million sewer lift station proposal. I've been working with the town's bond council on obtaining this paperwork needed by the town's boards and commissions and agencies to consider and approve the $4 million sewer lift station project and the $2 million drinking water treatment system improvements, which you're considering tonight from the Board of Selectmen. And I followed up with the Board of Finance, Planning Commission, and the WPCA to ensure that they follow the necessary approval procedures so that these items could be presented at town meeting, which will have to be adjourned to a referendum. And you will have that meeting date and the scheduled referendum in the call for the meeting which you're considering tonight. And we continue to work with our consulting engineers and finance department on expenditures related to sewer treatment plant project and the well fields project as we come closer to finalizing those projects. We had interim financing to the end of November. We're hoping that we can close out those 2 projects so that we don't have to do any further interim financing for those 2 projects, and then we can go to our permanent financing on those projects through the USDA. So hopefully that will be in the works, and those 2 projects can be closed out before we consider moving forward on interim financing. However, we will have to talk to our financial advisor and also bond counsel about interim financing for the school project, because if you vote tonight in terms of going forward to allow the mayor to hire an architect, we'll start accumulating costs on the school project. And we have the water main relining and replacement project, which would also has to be determined as we need to go into any interim financing for that project. Emergency management, along with our emergency management director, Ed Perrin, and CLP liaison, Sean Johnston, we did participate in the recent statewide severe weather exercise, and again, the exercise was revolving around a major ice storm incident occurring in northwestern Connecticut. We did open the town's EOC Emergency Operations Center at 8 a.m. and using the web EOC software provided to all the towns, we responded to the various scenarios that were presented during the course of the exercise, and as well as participating in a statewide conference call at the end of the exercise. For towns in the regions outside the northwestern Connecticut region, this exercise didn't have the same impact as the one we had participated in last year, because they're concentrating, I think it's the 5th district they were concentrating on. So there was not as many scenarios that were presented to the town this time. But we did participate, and it was acknowledged that Pleasant did participate in the program. Perry versus Town of Putnam lawsuit. As you know, the town received a summons indicating that Perry's at 11 Bowl Street were suing the town because of activities in the town parking lot. At the school corner of Bowl Street and School Street, and under the lawsuit that these activities were unreasonably interfering with the right to full use and enjoyment of the property. I attended with our town attorney a June 20th status conference, and we are now proceeding to a pre-conference, which is scheduled for tomorrow at noon time, and along with Recreation Director Louis Biscuit and Police Department Chief Rick Hayes, and I will be with Attorney St. Ange to discuss the case at that point during a pre-trial conference. The Quinnipiac Regional Technology Park and Regional YMCA, I did convene a working group of consulting engineers, CME Engineering, JD Engineering, and our regional engineers, Stoke Quality and Beta Group, and along with our town planner, and we wanted to discuss how to proceed with the development of the subdivision plan for the development of Wheelgrave property. And this was prompted by the knowing that in the very near future that we would be getting a final record of decision from the Office of Policy Management. In fact, last week we were told that it had been submitted to the Secretary of the Office of Policy Management. We were hoping that we would know by the end of Friday that perhaps he had signed off on the record decision, but I have not gotten that final determination yet. So we would just want to make sure that since there were so many engineering firms involved and there's so many details in terms of utilities and roads and bridges, that we were all on the same, had the same game plan in terms of meeting the various requirements of the subdivision plan, including lot layout, road bridge construction, and the provision of utilities. And what it was decided that CME, since they were taking on the bulk of the engineering work for the design of the bridge and also the roadways, since knowing the placement of utilities has to be incorporated into those designs, they would take the lead in terms of the design for that, and that will be incorporated into the whatever final subdivision plan will come out of the planning. And we had hopefully determined that we would wanted to have a follow-up meeting this afternoon. Unfortunately, because of vacation, certain people were not able to get to certain tasks, so we are postponing that meeting for next Friday at 3 o'clock. One thing that the WPC at their June meeting did agree to do is that to allow their consulting engineering firm, which is Beta, that when we're submitting the application to the USDA on the water line replacement rebinding project, that they will incorporate plans for the extension of a 12-inch water main from Quinnipiac Avenue through the sewer plant property, and then to make the necessary connections into the Regional Technology Park and the YMCA. And it would be our intent that we could include that aspect of the project under any grant or loan that the WPCA might receive for the full water line replacement. And the other thing that we would hope to achieve by that is economies of scale. And if they're out there doing this water line replacement, that if we have the money, then we can extend the water line. Right now, I believe there's only a 6-inch line that comes in off Quinnipiac Avenue down to the sewer plant, but to meet the needs of the regional YMCA and also the extent of the development in the tech park, it was decided that a 12-inch water line would serve that purpose. So it will be coming in from that corner there on Quinnipiac Avenue. And one way that the Economic Development Commission has thought about in terms of having paid for the cost of this extension, if there is a long-term loan on it, would be through the incorporating betterment assessments on anybody's property who ties into the line. So that might be one way of paying for the improvements. Charter Oak Credit Union grand opening, along with other town officials, I attended the grand opening of this new credit union, and they merged with Quiet Corner, and they're out there on Cornerstone, right? Yep. Plaza. Yep. And they have a drive-through, which would benefit me since I was a former member of Quiet Corner. The elementary and middle school driveway project, that project has started. And again, that project was approved under the FY 13-14 budget. And SAS Construction, under our bid policies, was able to obtain the project, was able to go forward with the project based on there being the selected firm for this type of work being done. One other thing that is important in terms of meeting the various mandates that we have on areas, whether it's the Little River Consent Order or the funding for the respective well fields and sewer treatment plants, since we did receive federal funding under that, under the ARRA project. We are still required to file quarterly progress reports, and those were due June 30th, so I ensured that, first of all, I did the quarterly progress report under the Little River Consent Order, and ensure that our engineering firms that are responsible for the well fields and the sewer treatment plant did the necessary reporting on those respective projects. And I also submitted the quarterly report on the Airline Trail Hankin property to the state DEP. And good news is we finally have an agreement with Ms. Hankin to convey the Hankin property Airline Trail easement to the town. And Attorney St. Ange is working on the actual easement conveyance, which we hope to have in place hopefully before the end of July. That completes my report.
Thank you, Doug. Any questions of Doug?
I got a couple, and Pete, this could go to you too. On the resolution that we're gonna pass tonight to go to, town meeting referendum in regards to the sewer lines, the water lines being approved. We just talked in regards to authorize the payment and issue of bonds was just for relining, the water lines. And there's nothing in the resolution stating the extension of the water lines. Is that gonna be a problem?
No, this would be a different
Another bonding
resolution.
issue
Right.
coming up?
When we go forward, as you might remember, we have a $7.5 million that has already been approved for the water main relining and replacement.
Yeah.
The only problem with that is there's no grant component with that. So through USDA, first of all, you might get a better rate, and there also will be might be a potential for a grant component. So when we're talking about the expansion of the scope of the services that are going to be required for the water line replacement, and since we've added the Richmond Hill, that's going to be in the vicinity of probably a little bit over $12 million, which will have to come back through the WPCA, through the Planning Commission, through the Board of Finance, end up with the Board of Selectmen, and then if it's deemed to go forward, to take that to the town meeting and
So that would add another $12 million to the 24 we got basically on the line.
we have on
Well, but
the
it's-
water line, we have 3.8. On the water side, we have 3.8 for the well field. If this $2 million is approved by town meeting, that's another $2 million, so that's 5.8. The existing $7.5 million, so that's 13 million. And then if we add another 7 million, then we're up in the vicinity of 20 million.
12 million for the school, so we're up to 25.
Right. But don't forget, these are in silos. So we have a full bonding authority of indebtedness of over $61 million based on our tax base. And they're broken up into general purpose, school construction, sewer projects, urban renewal, and even if you wanted to bond for your pension obligations, which we don't have to do because we're fully funded. And the other thing, don't forget, is water is not considered against our bonded indebtedness. So we're in good shape. You're right, we are incurring a lot of bond indebtedness,
Yes.
but on the sewer and the water side, and one of the things you're going to be hopefully agreeing to tonight is that you're going to set a separate agreement with the WPCA to ensure that all the improvements that are being made on the water and sewer side will be paid for by the users.
I got a question on the regional park. Have you got another town yet?
I've actually talked to the state of Connecticut, and we're going to facilitate a meeting involved in either the surrounding towns of Putnam or the entire COG area. And it's on the basis of, when we originally went to the Department of Economic Community Development, and we discussed various funding sources, was on the basis of the municipal development plan project. So we thought the best way to approach this is if we went in and talked to the towns based on applying with us on a municipal development project. So we're hoping that we'll have this meeting scheduled shortly. It's one of those things I'm still waiting to hear from the state.
A few meetings ago, you said you had somebody, the town you were talking with.
Right. We were talking with Thompson and we were talking with Pomfrey.
And they were interested.
They've expressed interest, but again, the devil is always in the details.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, thank you, Doug.
you're welcome.
Further questions of Doug? Thank you all. Thank you, Doug.
You're welcome.
Unfinished business? Oh, we can go on.
Keep going.
Unfinished business, Quinnebog Regional Technology Park and Bridge, possible executive session. Doug, is there anything further?
I had this down as a possible executive session because I was hoping that I'd be able to report to you on our negotiations with the youth on the right of first refusal. I tried to impress upon them that we would like to get this accomplished before tonight's meeting. Unfortunately, they have a surveying firm that's involved with checking our numbers in terms of gravel removal against, he's just checking their numbers, and that has not been accomplished yet, but that was supposed to be, hopefully they were to have a report last week. Because you're going on vacation and we'd like to have you present at that meeting, we will be probably scheduling that meeting for next week.
Very good. Item B is state disposition of surplus property on 380 Concord Street. As the Dempsey Center portion of the property that has been available
I'd like to
to us.
hold that, if you would, to later on, and I'd like to have that, if you would discuss that in executive session.
Sure, yeah.
So do you want to keep moving on the district permits?
Under new business, consideration and approval for temporary business permit for John Michaud. John, how are you?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve a gun permit for John Michaud, and a motion and a second. Would there be discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So carried. We have consideration and approval for a temporary pistol permit for Laura Michaud.
So moved.
A motion and a second. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? So carried. We have consideration and approval for a temporary pistol permit for Kyle Malo.
Yes.
And I know Kyle, CDS. How are you? Yeah, I have a motion. Do I have a
Second.
second? Motion and a second. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So carried. Consideration and approval for a temporary pistol permit for Eric Gustafson. Eric, are you here?
Yes. So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So carried.
Should tell the people the reason we do this, that these are the only people that law abiding and have to come before us. The criminals don't have to do nothing, except get a gun on the mark.
I think you are the last 4 people in East Putnam that don't have a pistol permit. and that's
Oh, no.
why you have
I don't, I carry illegal.
We do a lot of pistol permits. Doug, do we have time to go to E?
No.
No.
Want to recess for 5 minutes?
Yep, we've got to recess our meeting for about 5 minutes.
Thank you. Yeah, say Paul needs one. Yeah.
I was actually pleased to see that. Usually I realize scrambling to get one. So I was glad to see it shrunk down.
Stay out that guy. Breaking news. Pistol permit. Still learning.
You at least once have seen that process of sending permits, right? The way I do the. Right. Yeah.
Hey, Sarah.
Actually, you know what, I've been sending them to PDFs, or they send them as Oh, you have the soft, you have OCS software. Yes, this is my first time really doing press releases in a major way, I think. Yeah. Yeah, I can it's, for me, the worst thing about them is I get a call from the guy saying,
That was funny.
Never repaired them.
I didn't even notice that. I was there, I'm like, yeah, there really Sorry. No, I guarantee you.
I hope it's for you.
We definitely, maybe you. Me,
She said there was one day there was like a leak in the building and people came to fix the leak and then they finally let us know last week. And then the jack came. But she said her class was great, like came down. And I'm like, yeah, best way to get confirmation, someone that was right.
Well, I can tell you that.
Oh, yeah, that's what I said. I said, tell me this judge, how much more can they? Yeah, that's what I said. I said, did she catch it when it came?
Good idea. I'm trouble with angle anyway.
We do have to get it.
They told me to get that shirt free. Is that why you're wearing it?
We'll ask the public comment at the end. I'm sorry, you had to sit through the.
Call special town meeting to order at 7:30 p.m. Sarah, would you please read the call?
Town of Putnam Village Special Town Meeting, July 15, 2013. The electors and citizens qualified to vote in town meeting of the town of Putnam, Connecticut are hereby notified and warned that a town meeting of said town will be held at the Daniel S. Rivera Selectmen's Chambers, Putnam Town Hall, 126 Church Street, Putnam, Connecticut, on Monday, the 15th day of July, 2013, at 7:30 in the evening for the following purposes. 1, to choose a moderator for said meeting. 2, to determine the wishes of those present and eligible to vote on a proposed resolution as follows. Resolved by the town meeting of the town of Putnam, that the town of Putnam shall sell a tract or parcel of land known as parcel A, consisting of approximately .26 acres to Ronald Williams or any entity he may designate for a price of $9,000. Said parcel A is more particularly shown on map 1264, filed in the Putnam Land Records, and is located between Ridge Road and Park Street. Dated at Putnam, Connecticut, this 3rd day of July, 2013. Town of Putnam, Lucy C. Place Mayor, Richard A. Loomis, Renee Lasko, Alma J. Mori, Owen A. Tard, Norman Sinay, John Smith Jr., Board of Selectmen, Seth Saturday, Sinay Comfort.
First order of business is to choose a moderator for said meeting. Would I have nominations from the floor?
Richard Place. nominate
Second.
Richard Place.
I have a motion and a second for Richard Place for moderator.
Motion to close nominations.
I have a motion by Richard
Second.
Loomis. I need a second to close nominations.
Second.
Second, Alma. All those in favor to close nominations? Say
Aye.
aye. Those opposed, so carried. All those in favor of naming Richard Place moderator for said meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried. The item of business this evening is to determine those who wishes of those present eligible to vote upon a proposed resolution. And I don't know if you need me to go through the resolution, but it's approximately 0.26 acres to Ronald Williams or its entirety to be entirety he may designate for a price of $9,000. Would there be discussion? Would there be a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second to sell property to Ron Williams for $9,000. Would there be discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor of selling that property for $9,000 to Ron Williams, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried.
Motion to adjourn?
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried.
I move that we resume Board of
Yes,
Selectmen
you're gonna
meeting.
open the Board of Selectmen.
And I will second that.
I have a motion and a second to resume our Board of Selectmen's meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried. Item E, can I go to item E, Douglas?
Yes.
Yeah, item E is evaluating employee performance. Could you give us a?
Right. At the request of one of the members of the Board of Selectmen, he thought it would be a good idea if we brought up the issue of whether we should have performance reviews for employees. So in terms of doing a little bit of research, and again, as far as I know, the only employee that has had a recent review has been me. And again, you were a little bit late in terms of reviewing my performance for the last year. But that being beside the point, I gave you some information that is basically from a resource material that I've developed over the years, which is maintaining a high-performance workforce. And it comes through our membership through the International State Managers Association. And it gives a lot of good ideas in terms of what is involved in terms of performance, reviewing performance of your employees. And again, this is usually it's a detailed process. And again, just to start out with doing reviews right away really doesn't help, because unless people have an expectation that they're being reviewed, and the managers also have an expectation that if they're supposed to be doing the reviews, you really don't have a record base for which to review people. So you really should develop this for a time, some time in the future. So it would be my recommendation, based on, I don't know which committee would fall under, probably general government, to work with general government to come up with a procedure. And again, direction from the Board of Selectmen would be, do you just want it to be the managers, or do you want to get it all the way down until all the line employees?
Doug, can we all have time to digest
Yes.
this? Bring it back to our next meeting?
Right.
And we'll further the discussion at that point.
That'd be fine.
The only thing I ask, like, is any other towns in our area with our size evaluating or have evaluation processes in place already would be great. You know,
Okay.
if you could get the information in the next month.
Very good.
Okay? Thank you.
Just for direction, is it something you want to look in terms of managers, or do you want to look at line employees, or? Because you really would go two different ways in terms of whether it's management versus line employees.
I'd say both.
Yeah.
I would say both.
You do managers, the managers do, they get paid.
Okay.
Department heads.
Okay.
Yeah.
Department heads evaluate.
I just want to know how big the circle is I'm going to be bringing in terms of the discussion. Okay. But your point to having examples is a good.
Yeah, just so we get to and read, I read that, but it's still nice to have some examples.
Exactly.
I could bring the state police ones, I think they're really good.
Well, I also have the state ones too.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
Okay.
but not the state police,
No.
they're different. They're not included in the DAS.
No.
So that being the case, I'll be moving forward on that, and maybe we will have a meeting of the General Government Committee before our next meeting. try to coalesce all the information and try to get a strategy for moving forward. Because the sooner we do it, the better off we'll be in terms of whether you want to look in terms of a 6-month process or whether a quarterly process. You probably don't want to wait until out another year, but to get this process started so that I can start doing the reviews in a timely fashion.
Very good, Doug. Item F is to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement with the architect for the Putnam High School project. It's in your packet. And Doug, could you give us a little rundown of that?
As you know, after the town meeting approval of the school project, the committee went back to work immediately in terms of reviewing proposals, going out for RFPs for proposals from architects and also from construction managers. They didn't interview, but I think they reviewed a number of proposals from architectural firms. They shortlisted them, is my understanding, to 3, and on the basis of 3, those were interviewed by the full committee, and on the basis of that, they recommended that the contract for architectural service for the Builders New Putnam High School be awarded to ERA. You have a copy of the agreement between the owner and architects, and it's the recommendation of the committee that the mayor, the selectmen, give the mayor the authority to sign the contract once the building committee and the town attorney are satisfied with the terms of the contract, including their fee and any other legal questions that might have to be resolved. So that's what the building committee is looking for, based on their recommendation, is that the board of selectmen authorize the mayor to proceed to sign the agreement, subject to any further discussion they might have in terms of reviewing the contract, the agreement, and also the town.
The reason we want to get that done is that we'd like to do some environmental testing while the kids are out of school. So that's going to determine a lot of the costs going forward in regards to what how they're going to handle environmental issues, and we want to go forward.
Marty, could I have a motion before we go into discussion?
Okay. Motion to approve the contract.
Do I have a second? Second, Alma. There we go.
Okay. I sat on the building committee, and I'm still on the building committee, and that's why we tried to get a firm in place as soon as possible so we could get that environmental.
You need to know what you're dealing with.
Yeah, because that's going to determine a lot of costs with the new PCP regulations done up by the Department of Environmental Protection, and we had to put about $3 million aside just for that issue because it's an unknown. So this is why we want to get a lot of that testing done when the kids are out of school.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, so carried. Item G is allocation of $3,000 remaining in the social services fiscal year 12-13 budget to Interfaith Human Services of Putnam for fuel assistance of qualified Putnam residents.
So
this is
moved.
something that we've done in the past. It's a good thing. I have a motion in the second. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, so carried. All right. Item H, to consider and act upon the resolution entitled, and Doug, I'm going to turn it over to you because I know there's some legal words that have to be put into
Again,
the resolution.
in terms of discussion, what you're being asked tonight is to act on 2 resolutions relating to appropriations for a drinking water system improvements and also sewer system improvements. One of the things that is a requirement of your considerations tonight is that I have to read into the record a letter from our town attorney, and it's dear members of the board of selectmen, pursuant to section 6I2 of the rules and procedure of the board of selectmen, I hereby approve as the form and legality the $2,090,000 town drinking water system improvements 2013 bond resolution and the $4 million town sewer system improvement 2013 bond resolution, which are attached. Very truly yours, William H. Singer. And also will read into the record for the purposes of the first resolution, resolution appropriating $2,090,000 for town drinking water system improvement 2013 and authorizing the issue of $2,090,000 bonds of the town to meet said appropriation pending the issuance thereof and making of temporary borrowings for such purpose. And you need to have a motion and then a roll call.
Would I have a motion from the floor? Mr. Mr. Loomis and Elmer is a second discussion.
One discussion, this is for magnesium.
This is magnesium treatment, correct?
Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry, I need a roll call. John, I'll start with you. Aye. Bonnie?
Aye.
Owen? Aye.
Aye.
Al? Dick?
Aye.
Renee? All ayes.
Thank you.
So carried.
And moving on to your next item on the agenda, which is to consider and act on the resolution entitled Resolution Appropriating $4 million for Sewer System Improvements 2013 and authorizing the issue of $4 million bonds of the town to meet said appropriation pending the issuance thereof and making temporary borrowings for such purpose. Motion.
I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Oh, I'm sorry, we need a roll call again. John? Aye. Barney?
Aye.
Owen?
Aye.
Aye. Dick? Aye. Renee?
Aye.
So carried.
Your next item is the consideration of a resolution providing for a special town meeting and referendum vote at adjourned town meeting. And the resolution would be to set the special town meeting for August 6, 2013, and the referendum vote on August 20th, 2013. It will be from the hours of 12 noon to 8 p.m. And there will be two questions on the town meeting, and which will be adjourned to referendum. And question one, shall the resolution entitled Resolution Appropriating $2,090,000 for town drinking water system improvements for improvements 2013 and authorizing the issue of $2,090,000 bonds of the town to meet said appropriation pending the issuance thereof, for making temporary borrowings for such purpose as approved by the Board of Selectmen and Finance be approved. And question two, shall the resolution entitled Resolution Appropriating $4 million for sewer system improvements 2013 and authorizing the issue of $4 million bonds of the town to meet said appropriation pending the issuance thereof, for making temporary borrowings for such purpose as approved by the Board of Selectmen and Finance be approved. Yes, no.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Discussion. All those in favor, oh, I'm sorry, is a roll call vote as well?
No.
No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried. Item J is amend debt service and cost payments agreements between the town and the WPCA to include the 3 new projects both required. And that is it, right, Doug?
Yes.
That's
You have an existing memorandum of agreement in place between the town of Putnam and the Putnam WPCA, which was adopted in March 2010. And that was for the initial welfare project and also the sewer treatment building project. Since we're moving forward with 3 new projects, the water main relining and replacement project, and if the $4 million goes through in terms of the sewer lift station project and the $2,090,000 for the main treatment building and the well fields improvements, then you would have, if you agree tonight to this, amending this existing agreement, then you would have those 3 projects added to the agreement.
Very good.
And again, it's assurances that nothing is counted, because even though this is on the full faith and credit of the town government, this agreement ensures that the proceeds for the debt retirement, both principal and interest and principal, would be the responsibility of the fees paid by the users of the WPCS.
Very good.
And this has been reviewed by Town Attorney St. Ange, and they recognize that this amendment for these new projects be adopted.
Thank you, Doug.
You're welcome.
Item K is the library explorer.
We need a motion.
Oh, you need a motion. Okay. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Renee, I'm sorry.
So moved first.
Oh. I know, I heard them at the same time.
Renee's first. she's-
Bonnie second?
Yeah,
How's
that's
that?
fine.
Bonnie second.
We'll split next time.
One question, I just,
Discussion.
just one question that, we didn't need a letter from Bill stating that, or he was happy with what.
He was happy. I provided him with this copy, and he was happy with that copy, and he just gave me some suggested language that would amend this to incorporate these 3 new projects. Thank you.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried. Item K is the Library Exploratory Committee presentation. George? go
Okay.
ahead.
Thanks for having us. We have
Thank
a
you
little
for being here.
slideshow and presentation for you. I don't have a lot of experience with public speaking, so it's
Right over your head.
You have some handouts?
Smile, Don.
Not too much goes over.
Just make sure you use that.
Kelly, it's coming around.
Yes, not electronic.
Oh, there's a.
Oh.
We can show
I can scan that.
Yeah, but this whole time it's something to look at.
Maybe,
There's actually
do
two
they turn
parts.
off both lights or just one light?
I don't know. It
I
turns
think
out.
it's both.
Oops.
I
I think the motion isn't gonna allow you to do it. Maybe try it.
Oh.
We can see it.
Oh, okay, as long as I can see it, I guess. Yeah.
Can you see it in the daytime?
Okay, our presentation tonight, Putnam Library Exploratory Building Committee. Some of our members are present. Mr. McCowell, the library director, is on vacation and couldn't make it, unfortunately. But these are the difficulties of having a July meeting. So next slide, please. Library beginnings are in this very room. This was the library, and it moved across the river to the present location around the time of flood cleanup around 54, 55. So the current library, I think, is vintage 1954. The addition of the current library was done in 1979. We have some handicap accessibility issues. Areas are not compliant. The community room in the lower section also has its own set of problems as far as not having an elevator. There's asbestos tiles, I believe, down there. And as you can see, the story kit and the new addition wouldn't be allowed today. It's not compliant. Next slide. We have a lot of problems going on in the building. There's water damage in the foyer, a lot of seams of the roof, the different roof lines. The HVAC system has been a constant problem. I guess we spent about $7,300 last year just maintaining that. And I don't know if you can see the slides, but you see some of the damage in the building. Even the exterior bricks are starting to get water absorption, freezing, and blowing apart. Next slide. We're running out of space. There's no quiet study areas, inadequate seating space and tables for all our patrons. We'd like to have a separate tea area and inadequate meeting room space for public library programs. That lower level is used constantly. Even getting our own meeting scheduled, we can't use it half the time because it's already been set up for someone else. As you see, we keep finding meetings in odd places. Literally they're all over. Since I got involved in this project, I find it really interesting. Every time I've gone into the library, I'm really pleased and amazed to see the amount of use our library gets. In visiting other libraries, our library is really dynamic in that respect. Next slide. The library's been serving the community for 29 years. Our friendly staff, great customer service. Central geographic location has always served us well. Great programs and collections for all ages. Services from the back, snillery, trash stickers, museum passes. They do tax preparation. So I guess what that's really saying is that when you think of the library, don't just think of the books. It's more than just books on a shelf. We have membership in the Information Consortium. We offer Wi-Fi internet and technology classes, and many of our patrons are from neighboring towns, which brings partial reimbursement from the state to us. Next slide, please. And again, a strong library needs support. I think we've been well supported by the town administrator, board of directors, friends of the library, and loyal patrons, and committed by business community. Thanks. These are interesting statistics, I think. 71,648 people visited our public library last year. 7.5 visits per capita. The national average is 4.9. 6,090 people attended programs. 8 internet computers were used 14,207 times. 89,222 items were borrowed from Putnam Public Library last year. 9.3 items per person. National average 7.4. 59,627 books borrowed. I find that amazing. that the overtime department is really that dynamic with those numbers. And again, there's 5,380 library card holders that can take advantage of millions of articles in statewide fund database. Mr. Stuart Roberts, sitting in the projector, is the architectural firm of Johnson Roberts Associates, which we hired to do our feasibility study. And part of that was doing a state worksheet, which brought us to the numbers of our library should be in the 16,000 square foot range. So we looked at our current location and some other sites. Next slide. Just a comparison, the town of Killingly has 19,650 square feet. Thompson has 20,000 square feet with 4,000 dedicated to a community room. Wilton's at 18,500, and Dudley Mass is a new library at 16,750 that Johnson Robert Associates were the architects involved in that program. Next. Present location considered, renovate or expand the library. If we get to 16,000 or 15,500 to 16,000 square feet at our current site, there will be no green space. We have to knock the trees down, build the site out wall to wall. So we couldn't achieve the square footage we needed. We do have a parking issue with the current owner of the shopping center, so we have no legal right to park there. Cost of finding and moving to a temporary site while we're constructing is another consideration. And then cost to renovate per square foot close to new construction. So take your pick. The poison's about the same, I think. All right, so we looked at the renovating the Armory site, and we determined that the location's not really central, it lacks some visibility, and while it would probably be great for the schools, we didn't think that would really serve our entire town space. We didn't think that the older population might not want to go there. There's going to be too many kids using our library maybe as a babysitting service or something, but and again, cost of building there or renovating there was the same when we tore it down or built. It was just had issues. We also looked at new construction at the end of Riverfront Commons, which is down by where the old, for those of you who remember this, where all the old motor vehicle department was. And in talking to Mr. Healy, he had his own thing that he wanted. He wanted to build 4 stores under a potential current library, and he wanted us to give him the library, our current library, and lease us. None of these things made any sense. Same parking issues would be obligated to him, and we didn't think the visibility was really central and really dynamic enough to warrant all these other hassles. So we moved on to new construction on the Quittapahk River. Now that's the site that's actually right across the street from here. From the bandstand that we have, it would make a fabulous visual. It's a spectacular riverfront, park-like setting. We think that it would attract more newcomers to Putnam as they're coming to Putnam now. It's within walking distance for many of our patrons, along with the Science Academy and maybe the future Hale Mill restoration project. We could extend the river trail so it's a sidewalk over to the library. And the space is there to do a 16,000 square foot building to achieve our building program, and there's nothing to remove. It's ready to go. Possible funding sources, we are in line for a $1 million grant. We have to have our application in by September 1st. Current library was appraised in 2007 at $700,000. Dudley did a dynamic job of fundraising. I think we could do the same. Virtually everything in their library is got naming rights. The teen room could be the Staples teen room. The historic room could be, whoever wants, to support it. But we think that there's, when we start looking at the budget of furnishing the interior of the library, we think that we can come up with enough donations to do that part of the project. Dudley was extremely successful in doing that. We also have the Friends of the Public Library that hopefully will be helping us accomplish that. Oh, that's it. So, questions? The next part of the presentation now is Stuart's as far as what we're looking at conceptually for the building.
Right into that. I gotta take a moment here and change shows. Could be, I'll take a guess.
Gotta screw them all.
Yeah, that's just it'll take me 1 second, because this is running slightly different than the other one.
Another thing about that site while Stuart is doing this is that we have to talk to the synagogue, and when we look at more green space, they're okay with us using their green space on this side of their building. If we have outside events that we might want to do, or kid play or whatever, I mean, they don't want us to pay it or anything, but they're okay with this. And I think that they would like to see a library next to their building as opposed to condominiums or something else.
God. Well, I'm having trouble getting it to go on the projector. What I might do instead, this is going to be a little smaller, but I'm going to just turn the laptop around. I think you can probably see most of it. Well, you might be able to see it better. I'll do it this way. We basically we were hired to do a kind of two-stage look at the library needs. The first stage was to look at various sites, which you've gotten kind of a summary of. The second piece, which we haven't really done yet, is to take one of those sites and develop a design in more detail. So what I was going to share with you is really what we've done on the river site, but it's very conceptual. It's certainly not a final design. It's really just kind of a starting point to kind of assess the general feasibility of what we have. And starting, this is just the assessor's map to remind everybody of the property.
It's back.
Oh, wait, hang on, look. Hang on.
Sometimes projectors just leave it out.
I don't know, I'm gonna kill that. Anyway, this is just the assessor's map, so you can see the property. I think you all probably know it, that it's right there on the riverside. So actually, it's a really gorgeous site. We took basically the assessor's maps, and we overlaid that with a aerial photograph to kind of give us a kind of basic site plan. And what you can see on the site plan there is basically it's a two-story library that fronts the river. So all the reading rooms are planned so they look out on the river, and we have a parking lot then for about 50 cars. And maybe we might be able to accommodate a little bit more than that on the site. We've done some very preliminary planning on what it might look like. So there's kind of an example to give you an idea of what the library might look like sitting on the site, little computer model. Library committee hasn't even seen this yet, so spin it all around, okay? This obviously is very preliminary. We did a plan. There is a first floor plan, and that basically has most of the adult services are located down on the lower level. So you come in, there's a centrally located circulation desk, so there's good visibility from the circulation desk around the whole floor plan. There is an area up to this side that's a meeting facility that can be used after hours when the library would be closed, along with another conference room.
Stu, we got the meeting site of about 120 people that
Yes.
would take. There's room to expand that. Do you think you might want to develop this into more community-oriented space that you might want the rec department to oversee or whatever? We could double the size of that very easily, have 2 rooms, or have 1 room that opens up into a much bigger room. There's some flexibility there, so that, again, I think right through this project, I thought about it in terms of the public library / it's really a community center. It's where people come and meet and congregate and do their things, so it's a possibility if you're interested in that.
The other part, the other side of the plan is basically the adult services. So we have book collections, which are back on the north side, or on the non-river side, and all the reading areas, all the public spaces are right there on the river to take advantage of the view to the river. Upstairs is the children's department. So there's all children's department upstairs, and they have their own activity and crafts room for the children's programs located upstairs.
This is something that also came up during our discussions, which I never really thought about, but this is the real world that we live in. The nice thing about having this children's section on the 2nd floor is that you take the elevator or stairs, but you have to specifically go there. We won't, we'll have better control of watching someone coming in and making a little handoff and checking our people out, that's the real world we live in. So this 2nd floor idea actually has another nice possibility.
And I would point out the entrance to the building has been planned in such a way that to enter the building or to leave the building, you really have to walk by a staff position, so the library staff to know who's coming to talk. So that's basically the plan. We did a couple of other views just to kind of orient you. You can see the view as it might be across the river. Just give you an idea of what it might look like. This is certainly not final.
Again, the architecture is very preliminary.
Very preliminary. But that's what it might look like. Kind of gives you an idea for the size of the building. We have another one, just another view. This is if you were, I suppose, if you were a little closer to the shore. Spin that around. Yeah. That's what it might look like. And I think I have one last one that would, if you were in a canoe in the river, and the to give you a sense for that. A little closer.
Any questions?
Real quick, what is the existing space now, square footage?
If you count the basement, I believe it's just under 9,000 square feet.
Yes, I was going to say it was 8,900 or something.
Yeah. And counting the basement, I mean, when we count the basement, we're counting the little book nook, it's...
And if you chose to expand the community center, if that went into the plan, is there enough parking to accommodate that? You're talking 50 right now, correct?
Yeah, on this site, yes.
There is.
There probably are some schemes that might be able to expand the parking a little bit on this existing site, even with the expansion of the meeting facilities. So we probably get a few more on site.
What's the most parking spaces you can possibly have?
It's hard for me to say now. I would say someplace in the 60s, you're probably getting up to where we might be up to the tops, unless we went with some kind of stacked parking or some kind of structured parking, which will be very expensive.
As usual, I mean, we're always dealing with parking in Putnam, right?
Mm-hmm.
Parking's always an issue, but I know one of the lines has been, well, you don't think about parking, we don't have a parking issue. People find a way about it.
Well, I would love to see a community center on there, but with 60 spots, it's not going to support a community center. And I think that's a drawback. That's just my personal
Well, my
opinion.
expectations is that the synagogue as a neighbor would probably let us use their parking. There's the street parking, I think this actually would be a benefit to the people of Olive Street. When they have these huge, funerals, it gets pretty crazy on that road. But when you start evaluating sites, Putnam does not have a lot of sites. The other consideration would be, we don't know what's going on with our neighbors next door, is that little brick building. I would suggest that we might look at a boundary line adjustment, maybe grab a little bit of their land.
Is it Octo?
That's, I think the father
Father,
was there.
Yeah.
But that's actually, on that sheet, it's over 1 acre, about 1 acre more.
Yes, I think it's a little.
And it's really only accessible through this lot that we're looking at.
Yeah.
if you go back, it's all kind of wooded over now.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, my recommendation, you know, as a citizen would be that it's waterfront property, if we could get a hold of it, it'd be great. But if even if we just grab a little bit of it, it would, and we could get ourselves up to 100 parking spots, that'd be cool too. You know?
I would point at kind of a rule of thumb for library planning, just for library, not counting extensive meeting rooms, would be about 1 car per 400 square feet. So that usually be about 40 cars or so would be what you plan for a library of this size. If you're going to expand the meeting room, that's obviously going to put more demands on.
Have you checked the zoning on what they go by square footage for?
We haven't.
Actually, Liz Thompson is a member of our committees on the zoning board. I think you said 20 cars?
It was 26.
26 cars.
The
right?
zoning requires 26 for the square foot.
For that size square foot, for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Is
So it's
that for
really-
public use too? I mean, they can't.
Pretty minimal.
Yeah, that's actually 26, you can
Yeah.
almost put 26 people here just to look. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm saying,
Right.
yeah, like I said, I love the concept, floodplain.
Floodplain issues, we have not done any of the civil engineering work on the site yet. So I have been told that because of flood control issues that the site is not subject to flooding, but we haven't done any research on flooding.
As of right now, Fred has told me that the site is buildable, and that we are looking more closely at the water encroachment line. There's a 1958 map that really has nothing to do with reality anymore. That's all totally gone. And in 1978, your zoning board did that subdivision, and so it got built, so there's no mention of flood lines or water encroachment lines at that point.
It's not on a FEMA map or anything?
I've got a surveyor who's, you know, talking to the state right now. The preliminary answer is that if there is something, we can ask for a waiver.
That affects your insurance, doesn't it?
I think floodplain is river, I think you go downstairs to your map, you find the floodplain is on the riverbank, this end of floodplain. Because it's controlled.
The synagogue used to be, is right there.
Would the code engineers of that church have some idea of what, I mean, what the code engineers? I'm just interested.
FEMA has responsibility.
Huh?
FEMA.
Yeah.
And there's supposed to be new maps, but we haven't seen our new maps yet.
Yeah, right. And again, I guess what we're going to be asking for is that, you know, again, they're interested in doing a deal with us, and we can structure that so that, you know, everything is, all the T's and I's are dotted, and, you know, that we know that we have a buildable parcel before we actually purchase it.
Does the synagogue have any appetite to move that line north towards their building?
I'm not sure about that. You know, if they, you know, in other words, if they would give us a little bit more. See, the thing is here is that we're actually dealing with 2 different parcels. The parcel that we're interested in is privately owned, I think, by 4 members of the synagogue who bought it to protect the synagogue. And
Good protection.
well, no, in terms of, you know, not wanting condos or business or something, but they love the idea of having a library next to them.
Right.
So when you start talking about adding that, it would be a separate deal because the synagogue owns, you know, their parcel, and this other parcel is owned by 4 individuals.
Like the logic community room, if you could do that and put a divider, 2 meetings at a time.
We could do,
You know what I'm saying?
we
You
could
could
do
subdivide or open it up for a whole big meeting, or
Right.
if you needed that, it's also be a.
I would also point the plan also has another conference room that I think could seat up to about 25 people or so, but that's also in that after-hour zone, so that's another meeting facility.
now, again, if we are given that direction, we can massage these plans and really kind of look at it. You know, I think Stu and I discussed this a little bit, and I don't know I forgot what the problems associated with them could be, but we do have an elevator there, and, you know, I don't know if more second floor space is actually usable space for conference and
It's harder to do it after hours, and there get to be egress issues that are harder to solve. Not impossible, just harder to do if you're going to have a bunch of people on the second floor, you've got to be able to get them all out. Much easier to haul this stuff.
so I guess really the long and short answer is if we could get a boundary adjustment and increase the parking, then we could really increase the community side of this. And I mean, how spectacular is this? I mean, you're right on the water, you're right, you know, the river walk, everything that we do, like last Saturday's production, people will see the library across the street, the River Fire will be reflecting in the windows.
And all the board of directors will be up.
The fireworks show, all the employees will be picking up the show, but, you know, I mean, again, limited amount of sites that we thought were feasible, and this site is truly a spectacular site. So.
What, have you come up with a rough, just a ballpark? I know you could be either way, you know.
It's hard, I can give you some kind of rules of thumb, and some of it also depends on when a building would be built, because, you know, 5 years from now is gonna be different than the number you might do today. But right now, construction for public libraries is probably, just a construction piece, is around $300 a square foot. Project cost is gonna be more than that, it's gonna be 400.
But we're looking at,
A little more.
I think if you take the, you know, the state's got $5 million sitting there that we applied for. We are in line for $1 million of it. That's up to 30%. It's either $1 million or up to 30% of the project. And so I think realistically, when we look at that, our cost is around $6 million.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
But
And then-
if
and
you
then
expand
again-
it, then if you expand it another 400 square feet,
Right.
you're almost talking to.
But I'm kind of looking at that point, I'm looking at, you know, I'm looking at library and one thing, and then community center. So if you want to expand it, yeah, you're going to be looking at a little bit more money, and I don't know where that, I don't know where any of the money comes from, Marty.
Well, you know what, it's gonna be, right now, you can see what we went through.
Yeah, yeah. But again, I mean, you know, even if I took it inside on this, I'd say let's secure the property, because I think the town should have it one way or the other.
Now, this is looking at far in the future. But in terms of inside, are they looking to keep it more a traditional style library like we have it, or are they looking to do more university style movable stacks and be able to give us more room to adapt?
Well, I think what they're looking for is sort of the modern public library. And so that means a bunch of things. It really is planned with trying to respond to the needs of everybody in the community. So there's a separate children's department. There's an area in the children's department for preschool kids, for elementary school kids. There's an activity room for children's activities. There's a teen room focused on teens, and that teen room probably has a different flavor than the rest of the library. So that's probably more like the college library with movable furniture and computers.
Oh, no, I'm
and
not
things.
talking movable furniture, I'm talking shelves.
The shelves themselves would really be fixed shelves.
Okay.
And that's because they're publicly accessible. And those compact shelves, if you're going to do them, you can get a lot of books in a small area, but you can't really let the public in there. You can't just look down the aisle here and somebody else.
That's interesting, because most of the university libraries I've been in have open shelves, open to the public. Even I think New York Public now has some that are open to the public that have the movable
Compact,
shelves.
I have not seen any public libraries that
Okay.
have the
I mean, I'm sure there's
shelves that are open.
I'm sure there's a cost issue.
So
too.
the shelving is fixed, but the main reading areas, the idea here is to keep those as flexible as possible so that they can be reconfigured. Obviously, libraries today are going heavily electronic, so it's wireless connections. People sit at lounge chairs in front of those nice windows with a view to use computers. They don't necessarily sit at computer carols anymore. There's an area downstairs for browsing that would feel more like a bookstore. So you go in there, space out stuff, kind of things that you'd have at a Barnes and Noble. So really trying to answer all the needs, whether you're coming to the library to have fun or go to a program or do serious research.
And the number that we're talking about includes, and this is sort of like where Mr. Loomis is going to be, it's at the Dudley Library, all that interior stuff was fundraised. And if we can do that, then our number comes down. But again, we're asking for the woman who did the fundraising there, and she did an amazing job. And I mean, if we can get the entire inside, and we have a number of corporations sometimes, whenever we get inside, with Loomis Real Estate tags all over the place. It would really.
You're gonna be the first donation.
You know what? Hey, go back to that desk.
And I'll be the second, so, yeah.
George, appraisal of the property?
The appraisal,
That's discussion.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's an executive session.
But I guess I'm asking, the appraisal's been completed this year.
Oh, yeah.
Judge, have you approached about that other acreage? Because what's gonna happen is, if the board goes into executive session, we discuss this and we come out and we decide to purchase that property, what's gonna happen is we're gonna have to go to referendum just for that property.
Absolutely.
So, I think if that's the case that this board follows, then I would strongly suggest that maybe we come back in a shorter period of time and see if we can get the next property, the acre or so, because I think it makes more, to me, it just makes more sense.
Well, it'd certainly be helpful. I think we've tackled what we're looking at right now tonight, and I was planning on asking Mr. Cutler here to approach our neighbors next.
Debbie, is that on plan to go to the Holy Spirit?
Yes.
Yes.
And as you know, things are changing over there, so
Yes.
that's why I think there's a real doability there. So.
My understanding is they're speeding up their process over there, as far as what they're going to do, so.
We have two items that we need to go to executive session, both are related to property
Okay.
acquisition or disposition. So we want to complete this and come back to that and put these two items on, not back burner, but for, at the end of the.
Yeah.
At the end of the executive session, yes.
And finish your other business.
Finish up our business.
Do we want to invite George to be part of that?
Yeah.
And I'd like Don Johnson on the other issue.
Yeah.
When we get there.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Item L is approval of all bills.
So moved.
Make a motion to pay off.
Oh, I'll second the motion.
Have a second discussion.
Okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried. All other business lawfully come before such meeting. I just mainly mentioned two things, and I'm particularly proud of the recreation department over the last few weeks. We had a fireworks program here in Putnam for the 4th of July, I think was second to none. Kudos to the rec department, Willie Busquet for the fine job that they've done. Kudos to the people that stepped up to the plate and paid the bills, and just a great show. Place was just loaded with people. It took me an hour and 15 minutes to get out of the parking lot. That's how many people we had, and everybody had a great time. Saturday evening, Linda Eder and the program that went on was just phenomenal. Wonderful singer, a great program. Willie Busquet and the rec department worked their hats out. And I just want to say thank you to the rec department for what you do, because without you, I'm not sure we could have any of the programming that we have downtown, especially with it being such a big success. Thank you. Would there be any other business lawfully come before such meeting? Public comment. Item number 13, public comment.
There's a gentleman here who has a public concern.
Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Jim Hennigan. I'm going to try and be brief. I have some pictures, so maybe while I'm talking, we can pass the pictures around. I live in the brick house on the other side of the river, right across from the train station, right next, 36 South Main Street, right next to Dr. Botta's new office. I have a small house in the back, which a neighbor. About 4 weeks ago, I came home and opened the front door of my house, and the inside of my house was filled with smoke. And it was so bad, my eyes started to water immediately. And it took the whole afternoon to get rid of it. I then proceeded to open all the windows. I had left the two windows on the north side of my building open. My neighbor has built a new fire pit. It's about a yard wide, the interior. It's about 2 feet high. It looks like a wishing well, and it's made out of concrete blocks. And white pillars of white smoke were coming up out of it. At the time, I called the police, and Norman Perrin did not make it by. I think he had something else going on. The next weekend, the same incident occurred, and got, I think I have these weekends correct. There have been 4 of them in a row, the last 4. The second time, it happened again. I come home around noontime on a weekend. I go inside the house, and my house is filled with smoke. And I spoke to Norman, and he went over to speak to my neighbor. And the end all was that he said that there was a set of rules that are apparently not established by the town, which are rules for the whole district or something on fire pits. And so he said they had their rights to the fire pit. There wasn't much he could do about it, and that we would just have to try and work it out. My thoughts on it is that the pit is enormous, and up until when they built it, just I think 3 or 4 months ago, they had been satisfied with one of these smaller ironwork type exterior fire pits. And I did have an issue with them last year when it was unattended and sparks were flying in the fall with leaves around and everything. Norm came and he straightened that out. But now I have a pit that's, it's a whole dimension larger than the other. And somehow it seems to always be emitting white smoke. Or, as I understand it, if Norman, if I understood him, supposedly they're supposed to burn clean wood. I guess that's the difference between getting the smoke or not getting the smoke.
Seasoned wood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's just not the case. That's not what's happening. And I understand the dynamics here, where they have their rights to the an exterior fireplace, and then I have my rights. I just don't. I'm beginning to think that I shouldn't have to live with. Our houses are so close together. This fire pit is 10 feet from the wall on that side of my house. It's 1 foot from the property line. So when I started to flush out this issue, I spoke to several people in this building and over in the department next to the police station there, Public Services. And they suggested that while you folks can't apparently make the laws or change the laws, that you could address a letter to whoever does restrict these, or somehow. I just can't understand how, when I drive through this town where there are hundreds of small little backyards, people's houses are very close to each other. And part of the problem where I live is that we have a canopy of trees. And Dr. Botta's place has a huge wall on one side. My neighbor's yard is only, backyard is only 20 feet by 30 feet. That's half the size of this room. And they've got an enormous grill. They've got the old small thing, and now they've got this fire well. And there just seems to be, there could be a limit on what should satisfy someone's needs for that homey feeling. And maybe we just don't all need incinerators in the backyard. That's what it's like right now. And I just can't imagine that if everybody in town decided to have one of these things in their backyard, that this room wouldn't be full, with complaints.
Doug, is there anything that we can do to look at a solution? I mean, I don't know.
We looked at it with another similar situation. I don't know if it's quite as dire as what he's talking about, but I'll be glad to talk to the fire marshal and get the details.
Maybe it's time that we, and I don't know how much authority we have, but maybe it's time that we start to look at what our authority is and how we control situations like this, especially in such densely small populated areas. I can imagine that Dr. Votter's gonna be here, next, once he opens his practice, you know, knowing, you know, who he's gonna service in this, community and region.
But I would think that would come through planning, that would have to come out of planning, it wouldn't have to come out of his office, I don't think. If we started restricting that, it'd have to come out of planning and zoning, number one. Number two, it'd probably be grandfathered because they're already there, unless there was a fire marshal issue or, you know, I say that, that's a very interesting situation.
I thought in the special service district there was no open fires allowed.
Well, it's on.
But I think because
Burning
it's
of
a
debris
pit,
or
it's not
branches
open.
or things of that nature, John, are restricted within the district. But these fire pits is something that's really come on the scene in the last 4 or 5 years. And I've seen some of them at times that really have some grip and roaring fires that are a danger to this community, so.
Well,
Yeah, but I think the rule is, I certainly don't know as well as Norm does, but I think if it's contained, whether in one of the little portable things, or a chimney, or a formal fire pit, it's not considered open burning. If you didn't have the pit around it, it would be, but as soon as you put that containment, it's not open.
You're right.
Yeah.
Could we have Norm at our next meeting, Doug, to talk about the issue and inform us, give us as much information as he can?
can I mention one thing?
Sure.
When they had the small iron grill thing, it never seemed to smoke. And I can also look out my front door and see Jessica's restaurant. They have a grill going out there now. And I think it's kind of like what I've described, the small grill thing. It's always clean smoke.
Yeah.
My thought is that they built this bigger thing, and then it was just the temptation that it presents to you to throw bigger stuff in, wetter stuff, whatever's around.
Yeah.
When Norm showed up last week, they had pallets. They weren't even breaking the pallets up. They were putting the pallet whole on
So you
top
don't
of
see
the
that
thing.
as being a safe
Yeah.
burning fire. Yeah. Well, let's bring Norm in and discuss it, Doug, at our next meeting.
Okay.
I can certainly do that, but. And it becomes a more serious issue down the road as we have more of these pits being built. The other part of it is the way that those pits are drafted. If there's water accumulation at the bottom of that pit, it's gonna smoke all day, all night, for weeks. And the other elevated pit, you probably, you wouldn't have that situation. Better draft, better burn, but I think Norm can probably give us a rundown with that. Yes, sir.
John Perry, Lebanon Post. I talked to Norm, because I also have a fire pit in my backyard. It's supposed to be a certain size, and it can't be a deep one. Mine's only like a little over 12 inches deep. It's supposed to have a flame no harder.
Right.
And it was supposed to have a cover, mesh cover.
Yep.
That's what the fire marshal told me when I purchased.
Yeah, we'll bring Norm in and go over all those details, but thank you, John, thank you.
Pallets too, you wanna look at pallets, 'cause
They
you
can
don't
be
know what's gonna
treated
jump out.
pallets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. All other business lawfully come before such meeting. Public comment, further public comment this evening? Anybody have anything? Thank you, one and all. I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Including, I'm sorry?
For purposes of
Property.
For purposes of property, negotiations and discussions, to include Tom Ringer, Don Johnson,
Say this is what?
and George Tangeras.
And we went on to the architect?
Yes. I'm sorry.
Stuart Roberts.
Stuart Roberts, to be clear. That's at 8:30 PM. I have a motion. And, yes. I have a second on the motion. Second. A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So carried.
We'll be in the library too?